Hello everyone and welcome to this month's Pinterest project. This month we are going to be making a yarn wrapped letter, and there are a lot of different ways to go about this. So what we provided you guys with were the basics for this project. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to adjust the camera screen now. All right, so I have got the same supplies that we provided you guys with right here in front of me. That along with my template here. Now you can feel free to use your own font or template or whatever you would like to go ahead and wrap. I did a basic font that would be kind of easy to go through, and I wanted to make it so that it was a size where we could get about 2 pieces of cardboard in here, give it a little bit of thickness. So I'm doing the letter G just because that's what I would like to do today. I've got my yarn, my cardboard. Off to the side I have some glue. I've got hot glue, and then I also have just regular Elmer's school glue, just, you know, the washable, non-toxic stuff. I also have some scissors, I have a pen, and I have my crafting knife here, X-Acto knife, whatever you would like to call that. So once you have all your supplies put together, the first thing that you're going to do is cut out your template. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab my scissors and start cutting that. Once you have your letter cut out, and again, you don't have to use the template that we provided you. If you want to freehand something, go for it. If you want to print out a different type of font at home, try it out. Something scripty in terms of font might be really pretty. We just wanted to do something basic so that everyone can kind of get the feel for how to do this type of project. If you want any ideas or inspiration, if you go to the library's Pinterest board, it's the Shorewood-Troy Public Library, we have a few different ideas pinned in there, because there's a lot of different ways that we can go about this. Basically, once it is completely wrapped, you can use whatever supplies you would like to use at home to decorate it however you would like, however would look best in whatever room you're going to put it in. So a lot of people will use like floral pieces or buttons, different types of ribbon. You can put a big bow on it, completely up to you. All right, so now once I have that stencil down, again, each of you should have gotten a big enough piece of cardboard that you can fit 2 of your letters on there. That way you can give it a little bit of thickness. If you want it thin so that it's a little bit lightweight, just cut it out once. But what I'm going to do now is, you can see I lined it up on my cardboard. I am going to just trace it with my pen here. And then once I have it completely traced, I'm going to trace it one more time. And then I'm going to cut both of those out. If you've got really good scissors, it should work well on the cardboard. Otherwise, you might want to use a crafting knife just so that it goes quicker. If you are going to use a crafting knife, please be sure to work on a surface that can get cut up underneath it. If you've noticed, I've got my familiar yellow crafting board underneath our craft space right now. All right, so I've got one there. I'm going to go ahead and do a second one now. And then each of you should have been given a full roll of yarn here. I tried to go with something fun, and I did. A lot of you got ones kind of similar to this where it's got multiple colors on it. A few of you got solid color ones that I thought were just bright and springy. So hopefully you guys like the yarns that I picked out for that. And again, once we have this traced, then we're just going to cut it out. Okay, so I've got those 2 there. I'm going to try my scissors first just because it would be easier. It's a little bit thick, so I think I am going to resort to that crafting knife. And then you are just going to cut around your letter there. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. You can go back and trim up the edges with your knife or your scissors once you're done with it. And you can see I'm just adjusting the board however feels comfortable to you to get that cut out. And the cardboard is a little thick, so if you're using a crafting knife, you might have to go over it a second time. Just want to prepare you guys so that you know what to expect. There we go. First of my templates done. Now, like I said, if you just want to use the one, you can totally go for it. I just wanted to have a second one just so that it's a little bit thicker. So I'm going to go ahead and get the second one cut out. And then we will come back and get on to the next part of the craft. Okay, so now that we have both of those cut out, what I'm going to do is I am just going to put some hot glue on one side. Just get it nice and glued up. And then I am just going to overlap the two. Again, that's just so that we have a little bit of thickness to our template here. Go ahead and pull off some of those extra stringy bits from the hot glue. And we are ready to wrap. So now that we have the letter that we're going to be working with, I'm going to go ahead and take my string and go ahead and take that wrapper off. And the first thing that we are going to do is you're going to have a starting point and an ending point to your letter, and it's going to vary by whatever letter that you're working on. So my starting point and ending point are going to be here and here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take my yarn here and I'm going to cut several small pieces. And there are a few ways that you can go about doing this. You don't have to cut a bunch of small pieces. There's different ways to wrap it. Again, if you guys want to take a look at Pinterest or just search the web, find whatever is going to work best for you. These don't have to be exact as long as they're all going to wrap over the edge. That's all that matters. All right. So once I have enough of these, then actually I'm just going to line all these up. So these, just so that you know, I would say they're probably between 2 and 3 inches long. If you wanted to be precise with it, you don't have to be at all. And then I'm just going to cut those all in half. And that should give us plenty to line one of our edges with. So once we are ready to line the edge, I'm just going to line all of these up here so that they are nice and smooth, all back to back. And then I am just going to put some glue on the edge here. I'm using hot glue for this just because it's a quick dry. With the rest of the project, I'm probably just going to use some Elmer's glue because it's just going to be helping it stay in place. If there's piece of yarn as we're going along that just won't stay where it's supposed to, then I might wind up using a little more hot glue. I like just having the option there. All right, so now that we've got those on there, we've got them stuck on there, and it's okay if glue's coming through because this is all going to be wrapped. Then I am going to put some glue up top here, not a whole lot, just enough to keep it down, and then wrap that over the edge, just so that the end of our letter here will be nice and has yarn all across that edge there. All right. So now that that side is done, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to this edge over here. So we're again just going to cut just a couple inches, have a few of those, cut them in half, enough so that it lines it, and then we're going to glue it on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and once I'm done, we will get to wrapping. Okay, so we've got another set here. I probably need to do a little bit more than that. We'll see. No, actually that looks like should be good. Perfect. Okay, so now that side is done. So what I'm gonna do, and this is going to be the last, again, probably the last time that I use hot glue, unless there's a part that's not sticking very well. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put a spot on the back here, just for the first piece of thread to connect to. Hold that down just for a second while it dries. And once it's done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start wrapping. To wrap your letter, you are going to do just that. We're just going to go over this here. And we just want to make sure as you're wrapping, I don't know if you can see that, I'm keeping my yarn really tight. On this edge here, I don't have any glue yet, but what we're going to do as we go along, just to keep it in that tight position, is I'm going to put, and you can use hot glue, whatever you would like to do, but I'm just going to put glue down. This is going to keep the yarn in place where we are wrapping it. And you just want it real tight. Because as long as you're keeping it tight, you're not going to see anything that's underneath it. It's okay if a little bit of glue pops through, especially if you're going to be using some decorations on it after we get it wrapped. Plus, if you're just using like the school glue, it's going to dry clear anyway, so you're not going to see any of that once it's done. So now I lucked out with the letter that I chose because a lot of the letter G is for the most part just pretty flat and standard. If you have a letter that has a lot of kinks and curves, like a K, there are ways to wrap those corners. And once I get down to this corner of the G, then you're going to see how we do those corners there. So I'm just going to finish up where I have the glue there. There should be enough yarn with your letter where if you feel that your first layer doesn't cover enough, you can go back around and do a second layer. There should be plenty of yarn for you guys to do that. So again, I'm just going to put some more glue down. This is just holding it together as we go. Now, if you've got a letter that curves a lot, similar to my G, so like if you've got a C or an O, there's going to be a point where, and you can see this kind of coming up in my G right here, it's going to want to continue to keep going straight, and it can't because it's a curved letter. So what you're going to do is you're just going to overlap once. In the last place you were, overlap again, and overlap one more time, and then you can come back to going straight. Now you're going to notice that I've got this little kind of kink here now. However, all you have to do is press that down because it's got the glue underneath, and it's going to flatten out a little bit. If you really don't like how that looks, there are a few other methods. However, if you're going along and this is the style that you're doing, it's all going to look like it belongs exactly where it's at. So you can see I'm doing it again here, and it looks like that's just the pattern that it goes as it wraps. Get some more glue down. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to finish up. You've seen how we do the curves here with that overlapping, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so that you can see how that overlap looks. Again, if you don't like how that little overlap looks, you can put little decorative pieces in those spots. Or if you want to, the other option that you have is, as you're going through that curve, you could always just kind of cut and trim so that it's all laying flat. It's going to take you a lot longer than just continually wrapping, but if you want to just cut and lay pieces so that it looks a little bit straighter, that's definitely an option too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish the rest of this curve all the way down to the point of the G. And once we get down to the point of the G, I'm going to show you guys how we do corners. All right, so sometimes within your yarn balls, you may notice that you come to an edge where they knotted it. That's okay. What I'm going to do is I am just going to trim this so that we can just glue this edge with the hot glue and back again. This is going to keep that in place. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with the start of it. Get it right in the same place. And just be careful with your fingers because you can get hot glue on your fingers here. They do sell, I don't know if you guys knew, but they do sell like little like silicone fingertips for when you're using hot glue. I just found those recently and I'm like obsessed with them. I didn't bring any to work, but when I craft at home, I use them all the time. So go ahead and get back to wrapping now that we've done that. All right, and we are just about to the corner. Now you'll notice as I went around, sorry, really bad with keeping this on the center of the camera today. As I went around, I am at that corner piece now. Some of my stuff at the top here kind of came loose and some of the stuff here came loose. It's okay, not the end of the world. You're just gonna go back, touch it up a little. And if this top part, if you notice that it's coming loose frequently, you can always just add a little bit of glue on the back end of it to keep it in place. So I just adjusted that back. Again, lost it on the film there. We're going to raise this up a little bit, see if you guys get a better angle. But I just changed that with my finger there. My nail. I just brought it back down. So now it's back in place. We're all good to go. That one's fine. And with these here, we can just touch that up with a little glue. We're actually going to wrap over all of it. So it's probably okay to stay exactly where it is for now. We'll touch that up when we get to it. So corners. This is one of probably, other than actually cutting out the cardboard, one of the more tricky parts to this. And there's a few different ways that you can do corners. You can trim where you are right now. Just wrap over the edge like we did here. You're going to have to keep it pretty tight, and then you'd also have to wrap over the edge on this side. So what you would do is you would do this small section first, and then this section over here over it, and you want to make sure that the section that you would do here, that the pieces of yarn would lay here. So what I mean when I'm saying that, so you would have your first section, you would do these this way, make sure that they're trimmed enough so that they're going to stay under the other side that you have. And then you'd take your other section, place it over it, but you'd want to make sure that these ends come up to where this crease is where you're going to actually wrap again. So that's one way to do it. That's not the way that I'm going to do my G. So the other way that you do corners is you're going to overlap a lot. And basically what it is you're just going to basically fill in the gaps. So I'm going to put my layer of glue down here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to wrap on this edge. It's going to be similar to how we did when we're doing like around the curved edges where you're overlapping towards the center again a little bit, except it's just going to be a lot. So your corner is going to get bulky. And that's okay. And you'll notice as I'm doing this, it's not just overlapping in that corner there, it's rising up a little bit, which is exactly what I want it to do. So we're going to keep going. You want to make sure that you're keeping it really, really tight. That's probably about as high as it's going to let me go without overlapping here. And then we're going to do the same. Oh, it might let me get away with one more. Okay, once you reach that corner piece, then you are going to have to start. You're going to come across the whole thing. You can see it looks a little wonky right now. That's only because we just haven't gone up yet. We've got it on that corner piece. And if you want to add a little bit of glue over this part of the yarn here, just so that everything sticks together real nice, go for it. And then we are going to just continue wrapping. And again, if your glue gets a little bit all over, it's okay. It's the school glue. It's going to dry nice and clear. Not even going to notice it. All right. Got that there. Just keep wrapping. You might notice it spreading out just a little bit as you're trying to work up this corner here. And that's okay. You just tighten it back up again as you're working. And again, this doesn't have to be the way that you do your corner. If you want something more precise, I was showing you guys the other way that you can do it, where you trim and glue instead of just wrapping the whole way. There's no right or wrong way. As long as your letter gets fully covered in yarn, that's pretty much all that matters. Okay. We are just about where we want it. Okay. So we made it through that corner. And you can see, after I wipe that little bit of glue there, you can see there is an obvious split in the middle, but otherwise, for the most part, it just goes along with the pattern, which is really nice. I prefer the wrapped method. If you guys want to cut and glue, it's going to look just as nice. It'll probably be a little bit more even for those that really like symmetrical. So please, if you decide to do the other way, we would love to see the pictures of it, as we do with all of your projects. We really, honestly, I know I say it in every video, but we really do appreciate seeing how you guys finish them, because we like to see the creativity. I mean, seeing the little differences in projects even helps us with our future projects. So we really loved seeing those pictures, and we love featuring you guys online and in the newsletter. So please send those our way. The email is the same one that you received the video on, and I'll have that at the end of the video as well. I'm going to go ahead and finish wrapping this up, and once I'm done, I'll show you the finished project, and we will go from there. Okay, so once we're done, we are going to flip it over. We're going to go ahead and trim that last piece. Get some hot glue on the back here to keep it in place. Oh, and I'm off camera. I need to have like a little buzzer that tells me, nope, you're not on camera. Okay, so we've got that in place. It looks good. And I'm actually going to add a little bit of hot glue over here to try to keep these end pieces where they should be. This may keep slipping off. There we go. Okay. And again, just touch up with glue or anything. And there we have it. Our wrapped letter. I did a G, as we all know, I've been doing this the whole time. We went through how to do curves, we went through how to do corners. If you have any questions, I'm gonna throw in the link to a couple of different Pinterest links that I used when deciding on the project, just so that you guys have a few other references. We would love to see your finished projects, especially if you do any kind of little details on it, some floral pieces, some buttons, some glitter, go crazy. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I know this project was a little bit messy and stringy, but I hope you had a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed making your yarn wrapped letter. Thanks so much again for joining us, and we'll see you next month.